Please welcome Markus.
Hey, everyone.
Are you on mic?
I'm on mic.
Okay.
All right.
now.
Can you hear me okay? All right, perfect. Yeah. Thanks a lot for having me here. So I'm going to talk today about Auterion's role in the PX4 community. And I'd like to start this with some visualization. So we saw Ramon presenting commits and the massive amount of code that was created in the PX4 ecosystem yesterday. And what we did here actually is whenever a developer touched a certain file, this comes up here as a dot. And when this developer touched a different file, it makes a connection. And here you can see, that's only from 2019, from the first developer summit up until now, how actually the code has evolved, and see the massive contribution from the community that led to what we have with PX4 today. And this is also the opportunity again to say big thank you to the community for contributing all of this. What this also illustrates, though, the code base is complex, and at times it can get really hard to use it. So now, if we look, there's quite a difference between the innovation that drives research and also for the enterprise adoption. So open source is a huge driver for innovation and research. And you see on the left, there's this rocket-sized drone, or rocket-type drone that John Woo actually explored 2 weeks ago at a small conference. And yeah, it really helps speed up the innovation and opens up the collaboration between all the involved developers. Then next up also, that's from personal experience. After research, I've also been working in a company on a proprietary flight control stack. It is already hard to find PX4 developers, but it's almost orders of magnitude harder to find developers that work on a proprietary flight control stack, and then even it takes a massive amount of time to get them ramped on the stack. So now, if we look into enterprises, the requirements are quite the opposite. So there's a different risk profile. If you look, for example, at things like drone delivery, you want to be really sure that whatever is in the air there and close to people, that this works. And that's actually now where Auterion comes into play. And we're bridging essentially the gap between the open source community and the enterprises. And I think we have this visualized here quite nicely. So we have on the one side, we have the open source community with PX4, QGC, MAVLink, and all the available tools. And then we're working with partners in different areas. So that is apps like Dropbox, Esri. We're working with different payloads like Sony cameras, Next Vision, Workswell, or FLIR. And then we work with drone OEMs, like in this example, Quantum Systems, FreeFly, or AV. And now the real power that comes in here, this ecosystem essentially gives the enterprise customer the freedom of choice. So for example, now you can take a Sony camera on a FreeFly drone together with the Esri app, and that now allows to do mapping with a precision of up to 3 centimeters in absolute accuracy. And yeah, whatever we develop in that context within the open source community, we actually contribute back. And I want to go a little bit more into detail how this works. So essentially on the top you see the features. If you look at the community stream, the community drives the needs, develops the features, and there is regular releases from maintainers. There is, however, no formal QA. Then what we do from Auterion is we prioritize according to customer requests and needs. And I think one example could be if we look at how this works at Linux. In the enterprise, for example, might be more important to fix now a problem in the file system driver, while on the community, it might be more important to have the latest USB driver for some new device. So essentially, we vet what is going on in the open source community, bring this into our code tree, and keep it up to date with upstream, and release this into managed releases with a formal QA process and managed updates. Then, however, it's really super important that we stay up to date with upstream. So everything that we develop, we contribute back upstream. And how this actually looks like. So this is a statistic of the commits into PX4 code base from last year. So we have a bit more than 50% in commits come from Auterion team members. Then we have, sorry? We have about 32% from individuals, and from other companies, we have about 15% of the commits. And yeah, now, so we also, we try to make the adoption of enterprise PX4 then, yeah, as simple as possible. And while software is hard already, hardware can be harder. And this is where we came in with our reference implementation, in that case, the Skynode, which runs based on an FMU V5X. It has a mission computer, it has the connectivity, and this really allows you to focus on the differentiators. It enables immediate prototyping, and it eliminates really the need of testing components, and so to say, lowers the entry barrier to get started with a drone. And also, once you have this integrated, essentially our customers get access to the whole ecosystem that has been developed. And yeah, you might remember the slide from Lawrence from yesterday. So essentially, there's a ton of work to do. So there's the infrastructure work that can be done by the community, the company developed infrastructure work. But actually what you really want to focus, and what to put it in a nutshell, you can focus on your differentiators. And yeah, what also lets you focus on the differentiators, and that I want to move over to the standardization, is like the standards that have been developed with us, with the community. And I think nobody could have said this better than one of our partners. And we need the sound, please.
Standards. And then the gimbal manufacturer interfaces with you to the gimbal standards. And then if we do our job right and they do our job right, then when I get the gimbal, we adjust 5 parameters, done, it works. And so now we have it here on display, and it's working great.
Yeah.
And so I think that that's what I'm really hoping for in the industry, is to see more with these hardware and software kind of open source standards that I think you guys are really helping to create, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, and actually in that particular instance, the gimbal just worked. They have never talked with the actual gimbal manufacturer. And I think this is only, I mean, if we look at computer peripherals, we're kind of used to that. But I think for, especially in the drone environment, there's still a lot of work to be put into standards such that this should be actually becoming the default. Some of those examples of the recent standards that is the PX4 payload bus, and also the PX4 the radio interface standard. And yeah, as said, I think Lawrence brought it up yesterday as well. By pushing more towards these standards, the developers, we can really focus on developing features rather than having to deal with things that are just spread all over the place and having to debug this and so forth and so forth. Then, yeah, I'd like to have you introduced to some of our team members. So we're giving a bunch of talks here at the conference. So yesterday, Thomas and John Wu already presented. We have Thomas Debrunner present today. John Wu again, myself, Silvan and Beat, as well as Hamish. And I would also like you to meet some of our team members who can't be here.
Hey,
who are very
I'm Silvan,
happy to contribute.
and I'm part of the flight control team here at Auterion.
Recently, I worked on enabling the new dynamic control location for fixed-wing vehicles and VTOL vehicles and tested it on all the VTOL platforms that PX4 currently supports.
Hi, I'm Tanya, and I'm working at Auterion as a robotics software engineer. Currently, I'm working closer with the Drone Code Foundation on the development of new standards.
It's a pleasure to work on PX4. Because it's now already the second company that I'm able to reuse existing implementations and improve them further. And second, because I see a lot of drones worldwide that are flying partly because of my contributions to PX4.
The PX4 community is a very vibrant community of highly skilled and highly motivated people from all over the world. Being able to contribute to this ecosystem is a great honor.
So yeah, to summarize, we contribute a massive amount to the PX4 code base. We do drive the standards, and that at the end of the day really enables the enterprise adoption to actually deliver workflows to the enterprise customers. And with that, I would really like to thank you for the contributions again. I'm happy to chat. Please come to our booth, come to the talks, and yeah, thank you very much for attending.